Hey, what's going on? It's the Fields Bros. This is going to be part 3 of the Let's Talk Attack on Titan series. So, we're going to cover the back half of season 2 because that's what we haven't covered on this channel. So, that's episodes 34 through 37. So, there's been a lot of information that's been given to us in the back half of season 2, probably more than we've gotten in the first 34 episodes of this series. And after that, we're going to jump into basically all the information that we've gathered and see what we can actually come up with for theories. And obviously, this is anime only. I've not read the manga. If you have, I feel bad for you because you've pretty much ruined the series already. And I'm more than willing to be patient and just let this series drag out as far as it goes. Because as long as I'm somewhat confused and don't know what's going on, the series is going to be way more interesting than if I know all the hidden secrets of this show. So this is obviously anime only because that's what I've seen. So since we've already done episode 33, episode 34 is opening. Now, this is an important episode. Now, there's basically two things happening simultaneously at this point. The scouts are attempting to catch up to Reiner and Bertolt because they've stolen Eren and Ymir, and they've made a break for Walmaria or somewhere around that area, and they're in that forest of giant trees actually. And Hange is able to theorize that they're going to need to rest somewhere, and if they're going to rest anywhere, it'd be in that giant forest where they can stay away from the Titans. But in this forest where we have Reiner, Bertolt, who are the Iron Colossal Titans, and we have Eren and Ymir. So all the Titan shifters are in this forest away from everybody. Eren finally wakes up and he's missing his arms. Ymir's missing a leg. And Reiner and Bertolt are standing up on trees with ODM gear on all of a sudden. They didn't have any ODM gear before. But it's explained that Reiner simply just took Eren's gear that he had attached to him. And back when Bertolt was the Colossal Titan and he caught Ymir, he actually caught a secondary soldier along with Ymir and took that person's ODM gear. So that's how these two guys have ODM gear. And there's multiple Titans on the ground below them just kind of looking up at them in the trees. So, you're way out in Walmaria territory, so there's really nowhere to go except staying post in these trees. Eren's thinking about making a break for it, but Ymir basically explains what I just said, that there's Titans everywhere, they're exhausted. He doesn't even have any arms or legs, so he can't even transform right now. So running away is not really an option. But real soon after, Eren just he snaps, and him and Reiner get into this ridiculous screaming match where Eren's basically calling him a piece of shit and how they're the worst humans who've ever existed, and that and the two of them are screaming back and forth for a while, and then out of nowhere, Reiner's behavior just changes. He just kind of calms down, and he basically starts talking like he's just Reiner the soldier. He's thanking Ymir about the cannon she found a few episodes back where they pushed it down the castle to hit a Titan. He's talking about how he thinks Krista has a thing for him, and he's saying he doesn't even understand why Eren's upset for some reason. Like, you just kidnapped him, brought him here, you had a screaming match with him, and then moments later, you clearly, like, you have amnesia and you have no idea why Eren is upset. And Eren's screaming like, "Dude, you say one more word, like I'm gonna kill you. Like, you're talking nonsense." Ymir notices this too. And she's like, "Reiner, what are you even talking about?" Bertolt's just kind of sitting up on his branch, just staring at Reiner like he's heard this before. And Reiner's acting like he's a normal soldier. And then out of nowhere, Bertolt says, "Reiner, snap out of it, bro. You're not a soldier. Me and you are warriors." And this is where we learn something very important. There's a flashback to the Tross district invasion way back when in season 1, and we actually find out what happened to Marco. Now, just a quick reminder on Marco. He was, that guy who was basically Jean's friend, and he was, I believe it was episode 13 was when Eren sealed the hole, and he was, he was out there, like he was flying around on his ODM gear, and then he was talking to people, and then he's gone for a while, and then next time we see him, he's half eaten on the ground, and Jean found him there. He was half eaten. His ODM gear wasn't on him, and nobody even saw how this dude went out, and this was one of Jean's best friends. And then later, there was an ODM inspection to figure out who took out Hanji's test subjects, and Armin was able to theorize, because he helped Marco work on his ODM gear, that the gear Annie presented was Marco's gear. And basically, we didn't really understand everything that went down because there was this cutoff where Marco was around, and then he was half eaten on the ground a frame later, and we never got to see what happened to him. Well, it turns out in this flashback scene, it starts off where Marco's being pinned down. Someone's grabbing his back arms and pinning him down, and he's yelling, "Rhino, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then a second later, a Titan is eating Marco, and his ODM gear is not on him. So if you put two and two together, and while Marco was being eaten alive by this Titan, Annie, Bertolt, and Rhino were all standing there watching this happen. Annie was, crying a little bit. Marco didn't look too well, but the thing about this that was weird is Rhino was going through this amnesia bullshit again. He's like, why is Marco getting eaten, everybody? Like, he's standing there staring, confused as why Marco's being eaten. And clearly, you just fucking pinned this guy down from what I can see in this cutscene. You pinned him down. I don't know why. What the hell did Marco do? And you took his ODM gear from him, and you guys fed this poor dude to a Titan. Like, this guy was your friend. And then I guess Annie used his gear to present to the cadet corps, so she could use her ODM gear to take out the Hanji's test subjects, and then just present Marco's gear and just pass it off as her own. So yeah, basically these guys, like, they're the reason Marco's dead. They killed him basically back in the Trost invasion. So yeah, like that's the Marco mystery right there, and I'd say that pretty much proves that Rhino's a psychopath and has a split personality, and basically his conscience is he can't bear the burden of these terrible things that he's done. So that's pretty shitty. That's like one of the shittiest things I've ever heard anybody do. But yeah, the scouts are on the way to this forest at this point, and after all that, after that screaming match that those guys just had in the forest, Rhino and Bertolt are on a higher branch than Eren and Ymir, and they can see green smoke signals in the distance. And this is where shit's really getting interesting now. The scouts basically in order to save time, they rode horses along the walls on the very top of the walls from headquarters, and they're taking a direct path to this forest. Normally they use their long-range scouting formation in such a manner to avoid Titans. In this case, they're not really paying any mind to avoiding Titans because they're running against the clock here. So they're taking a direct path, basically a suicidal path to get to this forest as fast as possible. Rhino and Bertolt see these smoke signals in the distance, and that's basically where 34 ends. Is all right. The scouts are approaching, and they're right in this forest up there. So basically, they have to go. So that leads us into episode 35. Children is this episode's title. So Rhino and Bertolt have noticed that there's green smoke in the distance, but they have a conversation that's kind of hard to decipher. They're talking about how the next time they come back to this forest, they'll come back here with Annie, Krista, and something about Eren and the coordinate. So they need Krista, the coordinate, and Annie to complete their mission. So even if they get home this time, they're going to have to come back, they're saying, to get Annie, because she is an important part of their team as well. and you won't believe what happens next.